Motherfucking, Corey Danger.
Okay, guys, so I'm just gonna get straight into this. This is a movie review, the movie Widows. I recently watched Jeremy John's review, and he said he gave it worth buying on Blu-ray, but I'm gonna have to sort of tend to disagree. Like, most of the points that he put on were, in most part, correct. I never watched Ocean's 8, so I don't have that kind of bias that he may have, because he relates both, because they're both female heist movies, so maybe his judgment is a bit clouded with his Ocean's 8 rant versus Widows, but I went to watch Widows without the sort of bias of Ocean's 8. I didn't really like it as much as I think Jeremy Johns likes it. And let me explain. So Jeremy Johns gives it I think a worth buying on Blu-ray review, but I don't think it's worth that. And I've seen a lot of reviews. It's got, like, let me check, 91% on Rotten Tomatoes or something. Yeah, average rating 8 out of 10. But cinematically, it's a pretty good looking movie. It looks good, but I'm here to talk about the plot points, and I just basically left the movie theater just really super confused about the plot. First off, spoiler warnings and everything, but the first thing you see, literally, as Jeremy Johns says, is this huge makeout session between Liam Neeson and Viola Davis, and it's there. It's like, that's all you see, is on a bed, side by side, just making out, and there's tongues and everything, and you see Liam Neeson just trying to suck in her face, and I'm just like, ooh, wow, oof, ooh, right? They're really into it. I think the only point, like, Liam Neeson's like, I don't really get that many sex scenes, I have a particular set of skills, and I want to show you that my tongue is one of those skills, so bring it on. Like, wow. What am I looking at? There's also a later scene where they're in the bed still. Like, see, this movie does a lot of flashbacks. It's going through Viola Davis's mind, like she's trying to reminisce. Every time she sees something, it flashes back to how it used to be. Like, I used to have a son, spoiler warning. I used to have my husband, spoiler warning. But like, it jumps back and forth. And then there's this one scene where they're sort of spooning, like Viola Davis is in front of Liam Neeson and, kissing the side of her neck. But then I can see Liam Neeson's hand, right? I couldn't not see it, but he's just straight up squeezing the shit out of out of her boob. And I'm just looking, I'm like, I'm pretty sure everyone's focused on their face, but I'm just looking at his hand, and it's just super squeezing, like, just like, you don't need to do that. But I'm pretty sure Liam Neeson's like, well, I'm here, I might as well give it a shot. Hey, Steve, Steve McQueen, the director, what if I start just squeezing her titty? Would that be okay? And Steve's like, oh, yeah, well, might as well, go for it, this is my passion project. Just be passionate about it. Let's start squeezing her boob and stuff. Just like, wow. Jeez, Liam Neeson, man. When he gets into a sex scene, he gets into a sex scene. I'm moving off topic here. Let's talk about the plot. So the main plot of Widows, as in the title, is that all these widows, they lose their husband in a botched robbery heist. And I do botched because it was actually planned. Like, Harry Rollins, in the end, is still alive. He planned this thing, like, to a T. He planned for them to die, he planned to get the money, and he planned to leave with his mistress, who was actually one of the subordinates' wife. And I guess apparently he had a kid with one of the wife of someone else, so they planned it together, so they, run away together, have a new life, have money and stuff. Like, he didn't tell anybody, right? Especially his former wife. That was just weird. The reason why he did this is because him and Octavia had a kid, or Viola. I don't know why I keep calling her Octavia in my head. He and Viola had a previous kid, right? And that was stupid too. Like, his kid, this is kind of my point of view, but this movie is like sort of trying to represent the political world right now. It feels like you have a Donald Trump character, Colin Farrell's dad, he feels like the Trump character. Then you have police shootings and things like that. So anyways, their kid, he looks like the typical high school quarterback jock. He's driving on the road and he's on the phone, right? Not even paying attention to the road. Like, come on, kid, you're on the phone, you're looking down, you're driving straight, you're looking down, you're da-da-da-da. You reach for the glove box. I'm like, okay, this is how he's gonna die. He's gonna crash. No, he doesn't die like that. He has this box. Like, he pulls this box out of the glove compartment when she's talking to his dad. Like, his dad wants that box back. We don't know what is in that box, but he wants the box. Ugh, fine, so he pulls a U-turn, which I guess apparently is against the law in wherever they are. I think it's Chicago, because the police see him pull a U-turn and pull him over. And so the son's like, oh, God damn it, Dad, I've been pulled over by the cops. And he's on the phone, and then you see the cop slowly walking towards the kid, like, put your hands up, put your hands in the air, blah 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 blah, right? And the kid's not even listening. He's like, right? But for some reason, for some stupid reason, the kid's like about to get out of the car, but he's like, oh shit, the box. And he goes, reaches for the box and tries to put it back into the glove compartment. Like, why the fuck would you do that? Obviously the cop's gonna think that you're reaching for a gun, right? But then of course the cop like sort of like, that's that quick pull to the trigger, because it's like, put your hands up, and then like before the kid could say anything or do anything, right? But why? I know this is for like to push the plot along, but for freaking common sense, why would the kid want to put the box back into the glove compartment? It makes no sense. Most people reach for the glove compartment and say, I'm reaching for my ID, for my registration, right? Not, oh shit, I better put this box back, right? And you, from the cop's point of view, it does look like you're reaching for a gun. So it's part of the plot. It's to make the reason why Liam Neeson's character wants to leave, because they lost their kid and they're distraught and they just can't fix it. So he starts a new life. That's part of the plot, I guess. I don't know. So he leaves his notebook, which has details of every heist they did for some reason and every future heist that they're gonna do. He leaves that book to Viola. Why does he leave this book to Viola? His plan was for Viola to sell that book back to the guy that he stole money from. That was his plan. He didn't write it in there and say, hey wife, if anything happens, use this book to sell to whoever comes after you. No, he doesn't write that in anywhere in the book. He leaves the book with detailed plans of the next heist. And he does that hoping that she's scared enough to just sell it to the other guy and be done with it. But no, that's not what happens. She takes it as, this is my way to get, to live. He's leaving me a plan just in case to try to pull off to make money to survive. But obviously that's not what he planned. So things go awry. Let's talk about the antagonists. Two brothers. One's running for alderman. Like, I don't even know what that is. Like, if you just made it like congressman, then I would understand. But alderman, he's competing against Colin Farrell's lineage. Like, Colin Farrell's family has always been an alderman for like decades, and you have this new African American guy that's trying to compete with him. Obviously they used to be gangsters, because his brother, who's the Get Out guy, like, he's scary, kills people. There's another plot between them. You find out that Liam Neeson's character was pretty much paid by Colin Farrell's character to rob Jamal's character, to rob them of their seed money, their capital, their fundraising money or whatever. So, but Colin Farrell wants a piece of that money. Everything's about money, and like, everyone owes everyone, and so that's why Harry at the end tries to steal the money from his wife and tries to kill her. But he could have just been like, but then again, he has another secret wife with another secret kid that he doesn't want anyone to find out about. I'm just like confused. The plot, the heist. Was it an easy heist? Yes. When you watch the Ocean's movies, the heists are usually very complex, very like twisty, and like you think one thing's happening here, but then in actuality, something else is happening. And so there's big twists and turns. But here, this heist is a very, very simple heist. It looks even practically easy, like anyone can do it, right? All you basically need is just a code for a safe, and after that, everything else is pretty much easy. So their goal is to rob Colin Farrell's house, because there's a safe in there and there's a $5 million worth of money. But thinking about it, right? Their first heist was only worth $2 million. Their second heist was worth $5 million. But this is all political. Like, they want to try to suck up the money from the opponent. And I think that's what Liam Neeson's plan is, that he's gonna rob Jamal, but then give Jamal plans to rob Colin. Bam. Easy peasy. But for the sake of the plot, you gotta give the notebook to his ex-wife. For some odd reason. Why didn't he leave the notebook to Jamal? Like, hey, I'm sorry I robbed you, but here's a book that you can rob, your opponent. That would have made much more sense. But obviously, this is a movie. You have to put the plot in. You have to stretch things out. This was a 2 hours and 10-minute long movie. I mean, it definitely could have been shorter. Let's talk about the cast. Now, Viola Davis, she's good. She's great. She comes off as that demanding, straightforward commander. Got Michelle Rodriguez, Elizabeth Debicki, and Cynthia Evero, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Those are the main four. But only two really ever do anything productive, in my opinion. Of course, Viola Davis, she sets it up. She's the mastermind. She gets the plan together. She focuses people. She delegates tasks. And then Elizabeth Debicki, she actually, she's the one that gets the guns. She's the one that gets the van, and she's the one that figures out where this blueprint comes from. Like, she pretty much did all the hard work. Michelle Rodriguez is just there, and then Cynthia Erivo was just there too. They're just there. You can practically pull off this heist with just the two girls, honestly. Because if you think about it, they do this whole training thing, right? Elizabeth Debicki and Michelle Rodriguez are shooting, and Elizabeth Debicki's pretty good, but Michelle Rodriguez is fucking horrible when they put the shooting range thing come in and they see their results. But nowhere does she shoot her gun ever. Like, they made it look like she was gonna be this badass sharpshooter, but she never pulls her trigger once. It's Michelle Rodriguez who does, but it's only out of like reactory response, and we'll get to that. But Michelle Rodriguez was delegated to get the blueprint, but when she tries to find it, she finds out that the person who designed the blueprints is dead, and then they had this weird makeout scene between the husband of the dead architect. Like, she goes to her house, she tries to find out about the wife, and then he's like, you should have known that she was dead for 4 months now or something. And then for some reason, Michelle Rodriguez starts breaking down. It's like, my husband died just 2 weeks ago. And they have this weird sort of consoling scene, like, oh, they're there. And then all of a sudden it starts making out. And I'm just like, is Michelle Rodriguez faking it to try to get something out of the guy? Or is she just making out with the dude? And it turns out she was just making out with the dude. Like, a sign of weakness, they start making out. And it looks like it's going to go somewhere, but then she pulls herself together and she leaves. That's it. Like, that whole scene was just worthless. Like, what is this in here for? You know what I'm saying? So the Elizabeth Debicki character, she comes in, she notices that she didn't complete her task, so she's like, I'll do it. And so, even though she does the most, there's this other side love plot story where her mom, she's basically, she's home, she's depressed, she's not doing anything. Her mom shows her this site for escorts and is like, hey man, these guys will pay you money, you can live a good life, you can go to college. And she's like, I would never sell my body for money. But then in the end, she does it anyway. And then she just happens to meet this guy who's actually a designer. An architect. And so she uses her feminine wiles to convince him to look at the blueprint, find out what it is. But in the end, like, she starts developing feelings for him. So there's this sort of seesaw, like, is she just using him or does she actually really like him? And like, it's just like, it's so convoluted. She finds out what it is, where it's at, they find out where the place is, but they need a driver, right? Because their other driver just so happens to just gets killed, and he has this fucking Super Bowl football ring, like, for some reason. Like, it's just there. It's like, oh, you were part of the 85 Bear. No, it was a gift. And then they send that ring to Viola saying, look, we killed your friend, even though they never showed him dying. But she automatically assumes that he's dead, so they need a driver. For some reason, the Cynthia character is a babysitter, like a part-time. So, like, at night, she babysits Michelle Rodriguez's character's children. And so Michelle Rodriguez is just standing there like, do you know how to drive? Part of the team. And then her and Viola have this sort of standoff with each other, like two sort of bald, shaven African-American women with very dominant personalities staring at each other, and they're going back and forth with the quips and the retorts and stuff, and like, I'm right here, don't tell me, talk to my face and stuff like that. So their personalities clash. She's supposed to be the driver. The only time you ever see her drive is to move the van into position. And that's it. There's no fucking driving. There's no car chase. I mean, there's a mini car chase where the Get Out guy steals the van from them after they completed the heist. But then for some reason they find another car and then they just crash into him. And then Viola Davis is the one that's driving. So what's the point of her? She doesn't even need to be there. She gets money for practically not doing anything. Am I wrong? She hardly did anything. She just scoped out a few cameras, but that's about it. So she gets a piece of the cut. Michelle Rodriguez's character too hardly does anything except for killing the Robert Duvall character, which, my goodness, like, the plan is going according to plan, right? And it's such an easy plan. They didn't even have to do anything. They didn't have to really set up anything. The cameras are already blocked by construction, conveniently. There's only one security guard in the house, and he's like, he doesn't really even care. Like, he opens the door when someone just knocks on his, like, hello? Like, what the hell? Like, he's not even a good security guard. And they don't even, they check the first floor. Like, you see the sequence where Viola Davis goes to each room to double check everything, right? And the safe is on the third floor. But they skip the whole second floor. Like, even this lady comes out, looks at them, they point their gun at her, and then she just slowly backs into her room. Like, what the hell are you doing? Tie her up. Check the other rooms. They didn't. And so Robert Duvall's character comes out with a gun as they're leaving, shoots Elizabeth Debicki. Michelle Rodriguez shoots him in reaction with a gun that wasn't even a Glock. That also doesn't make sense. They specifically got 3 Glocks, right? 3 Glocks so that they do this heist. The Cynthia character comes in. Viola's like, oh man, now we gotta get another gun. But then she's like, I got my own. So where did this revolver come from? Why was it even there? It doesn't make any sense. Because that's the gun that Michelle Rodriguez uses, and that's the gun that Viola Davis plants on Liam Neeson to sort of, tie everything into a bow, complete the transaction. But it just doesn't make any sense. Where did that gun come from? And then they have this training scene. You got the shooting range scene. Then you got this scene where Viola Davis, for some reason, gets all these Tupperwares, fills it with fucking dirt. And it's like, this represents all the stacks of money and weight, and you need to practice carrying it, right? But they have all these things set up on a table. Then Michelle Rodriguez is like, why are we doing this? Blah blah blah. And then Viola's like, pick up that bag. That's how much so and so money is gonna weigh. So run to the van and back. So there's not that. Then she picks up the heavy bag and like, oh my god, it's so fucking heavy. What the fuck was the point of all this sand fucking Tupperware? What was that? You really needed a visual representation and then have bags full of weight just off to the side? Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. I thought they're going to use the sand for something, because they have this scene where they're just talking, filling the fucking soil Tupperwares and stacking it, filling and talking and blah, 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 blah. But in the end, when Elizabeth Debicki gets shot, Michelle Rodriguez's character has a bag and she's just dragging the other one down the stairs. Like, they could have done that by themselves. If that's the case, right? They didn't leave the bag. They still brought it with them. So what was the use of all this training and like, look how heavy these bags are if you can just drag it with you? Once again, makes no sense, but it's just a way to stretch the plot. So I've just said that Michelle Rodriguez's character and Cynthia's character were practically not even needed. And if they freaking swept every floor before they left, they would have been fine. They would, and like I said, this wasn't even a hard heist, right? They didn't need to break in any door. They didn't need to hack into any system. All they needed was the save code, which was already given to them because they just so happened to have photos of the guy who owns the safe company. So they just used that. They could have just done that on their own, break in, get the money, and leave. Easy peasy, simple as that. But, I guess you need to make 4 to, round everything off. And in the end, Colin Farrell wins the election anyway because his dad died, so everyone was just doing sympathy votes. But then again, Jamal's brother died too, but that might not work out to his favor as well. Anyways, so that's just all I really want to talk about. It's like, this movie visually was okay, but it wasn't that great. Plot was confusing. Elizabeth Debicki, though, like, yeah. She has a sex scene in there, and it's pretty nice. Anyways, if Michelle Rodriguez comes into my building and starts, wanting to make out with me, I wouldn't mind. I've always had a blue crush on her. Wink, wink. Something I really wanted to get off my mind. Yeah. I've got too much time.